Welcome to Email After Hours by SenderScore, powered by Validity.
We're your hosts. My name is Guy Hansen.
And I'm Danielle Gallant, and this is Email After Hours.
Our listeners know that email marketing requires attention to detail, skill, and finesse to ensure that every element within an email campaign perfectly captures your brand's tone and the attention of your target audience. So whether you're deciding on the best images to use or workshopping the catchiest hook for a subject line, there are so many things to consider. And it can be tough to keep all of those various parts of an email template straight. That's why we're very excited to break down the anatomy of a successful email with our guest today.
Absolutely. Joining us today, we have Johanna Morlock-Abbasi, and she's an old friend of Validity. Johanna's got extensive experience in email marketing and is currently the Assistant Director of Email Marketing for the Bradford Hammaker Group. Johanna's joined us before on several of our State of Email episodes, and we're really excited to hear her expert tips and tricks on optimizing emails on Email After Hours today. So welcome to the show, Johanna. We're so glad to have you back with us today.
Thank you, Guy and Danielle. I'm really excited to be here.
And Johanna, I'm sure you've listened to an episode or two, faithful to the Validity content that you are. And so you'll know that we usually kick off every episode with an icebreaker question. And this is a new one, I think. And I am passionate about the answer to this one. So how many unread emails do you currently have? Are you an inbox zero person?
I am an inbox zero person for
Yes.
work. So right now for work, I am zero. But in my personal inbox, I have 123,945 unread emails in my Gmail. So,
oh, God.
Bad. Yeah.
Okay. 123,000.
It gives me anxiety. It really does. But
anyway, before we get into today's topic, can you give us a quick overview of your role as Assistant Director of Email Marketing at Bradford Hammaker Group? What sort of emails do you send, and what's a good measure of success for you, Johanna?
Right. So I'm very fortunate because I get to nurture and build the relationships with our customers and prospects. And I get to have this one-on-one conversation with them. I get to send them beautiful, curated emails and get them to engage and get them to click through to come and see everything. And ultimately, I get to sell happiness. So, that's fun for me and very positive. And that's why I love what I do here. I send out transactional emails, as everyone knows what that is. I also do a lot of promotional emails. I do triggered emails. And then I do personalized dynamic affinity emails. And those are probably my favorite because at the Bradford Exchange, we've been doing personalized automated emails for a long time, which is what the new buzzword is today with AI, the personalization, hyper-personalization. And what is a good measure of these success for my emails? It's really a lot of our KPIs, but the most important ones to me are the clicks, but especially mail to click through. So that's the number of clicks divided by our email quantity. And then our sales. Ultimately, what can we take to the bank? But I don't want to forget about my other important KPIs, which are our open rates, our conversions, the bounce rate, and then our unsubscribes. So those are really important.
Johanna's paying attention to every aspect of these KPIs. And I know it because I think for the first time, or maybe one of the first times, I've worked with Johanna as much as Guy has. I feel like Guy always knows the guests intimately. But I do know, Johanna, that you completely respect the importance of good email content and, of course, making the most of, the email real estate in a mailbox. Like that's recognizable, friendly from names, attention-grabbing subject lines. The list goes on. But I guess that marketers think less about the more structural elements of an email. So, Johanna, could you walk us through the importance of structuring an email effectively, starting with the subject line and subheading?
Sure. So the subject line and the pre-header are it's really the first exposure that your customers see in your email. They go to their inbox, they see the subject line, and then secondarily, they see the pre-header, which actually assists in getting them to open the email.
Yeah. And how have you found given that you are so focused on these KPIs, that subject lines, even little nuances in the pre-header can have an impact on engagement rates or clicks for your customers?
Absolutely. So we have tested over and over hundreds of subject lines and pre-headers. We've done complimentary ones. I mean, we've also had the subject line start and the pre-header finish the content within there. We call out urgency, which is very important. We use emojis, we use personalization. It's really the prelude to get them to open the email. And we don't have a lot of time. We can't use that many characters. So it has to be something hard and hitting and pulling on their emotional heartstrings to get them to click through.
That's amazing. Now, every email, I guess it's got to have its own specific purpose, a raison d'etre, as our French colleagues might describe it. So let's talk a little bit about that, that almost the USP of an email, its unique selling proposition. Sorry, audience, there's yet another acronym for all of you guys. So, Joanna, you know how important this is for an email campaign. Can you give us an example of a really solid email USP?
Absolutely. One of our product divisions here at the Bradford Exchange is our jewelry division. And so our unique selling proposition is very important in getting, we have so much competition in this division. And so we just finished Mother's Day, and one of our top selling emails was about a mother's necklace with mom on it. And our unique selling proposition was 2 genuine diamonds and 12 white topazes sparkling in a delicate necklace with an 18-karat gold-plated mom flower.
Wow.
I know that's a mouthful, but what's so interesting about this is that we called out the metals, we called out the gems, we talked about what's unique in this particular product, and really we were trying to influence and increase our customers' perceived value of this product by using this unique selling proposition. Now, it takes a village, and I don't do this all on my own. I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of offline, great direct marketers for our offline products. So I will look at their ads, I'll look at their marketing pieces. We always have a unique selling proposition within our product kickoffs for all of these beautiful products that we're selling. And online has different best practices, so we'll tweak it and use that. But it starts from the conception of the product, what is the unique selling proposition, and then we go on and incorporate this in our email.
It's a mouthful, but this comes back to selling happiness. I'd be super happy if I had those gem details in my inbox.
It's all about selling happiness. And I think what our audience will quickly have realized is that Johanna's got a real passion, for the merchandise that she's promoting in her email programs. And I think that passion comes through. And Johanna, maybe you'd like to build on that for us, how you ensure that the USP that you've just been talking about gets effectively communicated as a value proposition for your recipients.
Right. So back to what I really was calling out, these features and benefits of the product that are unique, the metals, the gems, we have mechanisms. So we do not have a lot of time. We have the subject line pre-header, which gives the prelude. When you click into the email, then you have your headline and your subhead. Within the email, we have our beautiful hero shot or image of our product, which is so important because really we have 3 seconds for them to look at this and decide if they're going to click. So it has to be clear, concise communication at the top and just something that's going to resonate with them, whether it's the genuine diamonds or mom or this beautiful mechanism in this particular pendant necklace. So that's what's really important to get that.
As a random aside, I'm an April baby, and so my birthstone is a diamond. My attention would be grabbed. And I'd like to actually go back to the subject line a little bit because, of course, exactly what you're saying, Johanna, it has to grab subscriber attention. But you mentioned before that one of the KPIs that you're using is open rate. And we know that there have been some pitfalls with the open rate in the last couple of years. So when you're thinking about personalization And however that's being implemented, whether it's a subscriber name or even maybe a specific birthstone, if you happen to know that information, how does the open rate fluctuate for you? And how are you using the open rate now that it's a little bit less reliable?
Right. So as we know, due to Apple MPP back in September of 21, we saw our open rates all inflated, correct? Right. We all saw this and we had to then manage to the other KPIs. I always am interested in the open rates because it's directional. I see daily we use Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and I can see all of my metrics of how many total opens happen that day, the next day. And it's directional, but it's an indicator that I use to say, oh, okay, so more people opened it, more didn't. Today in 2024, I'm seeing our open rates coming back down to normal levels. That's what we're experiencing at the Bradford Exchange. It's directional for me. I look at it and then I look at it at each mailbox provider at that detail to see if I'm seeing a much lower open rate. I'm saying, wait a minute, something's going on in Gmail. Let's go and do a deeper dive because we use our beautiful platform Validity in all of our information. And it's really important to be looking at that daily and at that detail, that level of detail.
I think that's such an important call out for marketers because yes, open rates may be inflated, but they're directional, not just in terms of how engaged a subscriber might be with the message, but also whether or not there might be a deliverability issue occurring with some of the mail. Now, last thing I'm going to talk about or going to ask about with this preview, what you see in the inbox, we've already touched on it. It's the pre-header. It's the subject line's unbolded cousin, if you will. When we think about how a subject or a pre-header can complement the subject line, how do you do that? And do you pay equal attention to subject line and pre-header?
Yeah, that's a great question, Danielle. I actually pay equal attention to both. The pre-header gives us, it's valuable real estate. It gives us that next chance to call out something to get them to work in concert with the subject line so that they open it. We can use it to pique their interest more. We put in urgency call outs to say last chance, limited value, expires today. And we personalize in the pre-header. And as we all know, in different mailbox providers, it all shows up differently. So we're very clear on in Yahoo how it looks versus Gmail versus AOL. And it's very important to us. And it does help our clicks and get them to open the email, we believe.
Now, in past conversations, we've also talked about the many, many ways that you've experimented with calls to action, CTAs. So testing the language or the type of offer that's within the CTA button is certainly important. But how else can you ensure that a CTA is really compelling to your subscribers?
Over the years, as you can imagine, we have tested every version of content, color, button size, animation. Every time, because we are direct marketers, we are always testing against our control, and Shop Now has never lost. We've tried different colors. So today our perfect control is a Shop Now button with an orange background, and it's a GIF and it's flashing. That is what works for the Bradford Exchange and then all of my other brands, Hamilton, Ashton Drake, our Canadian, and our Chex Group. So this is where we continually test and we try to beat it, and we still haven't. And I'm talking just from the body of the emails over, right?
Yeah. That's so interesting. I'm a sort of big fan of cognitive behavior, and the idea that a Shop Now in orange is so effective is interesting because orange is a happy color, so that it makes people feel good about themselves, and that certainly makes a load of sense to me.
Guy, you're currently surrounded by orange. You're in an orange room. I don't doubt that this speaks to you.
Yeah,
it was purposely done.
Some orange juice as well, yeah. So you kind of preempted my next question, Joanna, because I was going to ask you what you thought worked best. So let me reframe that slightly and say, have you ever had any unexpected learnings with CTA testing, a sort of result that you weren't perhaps expecting to be as good or bad as it ended up being?
During us losing Queen Elizabeth II back a few years ago, we were very thoughtful on how we were going out to talk to our customers. So what we did is we changed the set of Shop Now to learn more and we brought it down as a text link versus a button. Again, we have this great relationship from our Canadian business and just our European businesses. So we're very sensitive, and we really admire and wanted to respect and memorialize this very tastefully. So it was a very subtle, like I said, text link something. And we were so surprised how much lift we got in that and how many people just love her, click through and went on to buy her beautiful collectible products that we sell. So that was a surprise. And again, it was a learn now, and it was a very simple text link.
It emphasizes just how important tone is, I think, too, when we're composing an email. There are many circumstances where tone, of course, is important, but there's brand tone, and then there's that circumstantial tone that comes along with whatever you're promoting or discussing in a message. I really love that. And if you have ever visited one of Bradford's brand's websites, it is not your standard retail. Let's say you're not going to buy a pair of pants necessarily.
I wanted to say that there's another tone because, of course, if color's so important, then there's Pantone as well.
There you go. Exactly. There is some seriously interesting stuff to buy. And we were just talking about, of course, how critical it is to have a visually appealing CTA, or at least one that resonates with your audience. But what about images? What are some key aspects that you consider when you're deciding which images to put in your messages, and how do you choose?
Again, as I had mentioned earlier, I have the luxury of this wonderful smart offline team that are our product directors by each division, each product type. And we're an email marketer, we're a e-commerce site, and we have to have our products front and center. And everyone knows what a hero shot is. It's the main shot of the product. A lot of times we lead with that, and it just shows the product so beautifully, all of the details. Our products are curated, unique pieces of art in certain cases that we're showing, these artistic ones. And so you really need a great image. When you see our emails at the Bradford Exchange, the bulk of the email is an image. And that's really what we're trying to show. Picture speaks 1,000 words. You see that, it grabs your heart, and you click through.
And I'll always, just because whenever we talk about a hero image on the professional services team, my team, we leverage predictive eye tracking tools to assess emails just for the cognitive and emotional responses that they elicit. And I'll always remember this webinar I watched a while ago that through predictive eye tracking just showed how much subtle differences can really influence the way that a subscriber engages with the message. And in this case, the example was an A/B test. Option A had the image of a baby or a toddler looking straight out toward the subscriber. And then option B had that same baby, but looking up toward the call to action. And subscribers followed the baby's gaze toward the CTA and were much more likely to engage with that button compared to when the baby was just staring straight at them. So have you, like you test other things, have you ever A/B tested images within the email? And are there any learnings from that?
So we've done a lot of that over the years, especially in our Ashton Drake brand. We sell baby dolls, we sell unique curated pop type culture dolls. So it's a really fascinating group, and it's great, high quality. We've done many tests where we've shown the baby back farther, laying down in a lifestyle image, the baby's feet, the baby's hands, whatever the unique features of that baby in the email. And time after time, it's always the baby's face direct on versus the other with multiple images.
I did not know that you were going to have a baby example to go with mine. That's amazing.
And secondly, what we've done lately is we've been doing real photography. So we have this beautiful Christ de Limoges collectible product, and we tested the digital version because when we are creating our products, we are creating them in a digital form, and then we finally master the real beautiful work of art. So initially we used the digital photography on the website, and we split it with the real photography of the Christ de Limoges versus the digital. And the real photography actually lifted click-throughs anywhere from 10 to 33% on our test, our validation test, and then our final validation test.
Wow.
So it's just interesting that just how clear and beautiful those products are and you can see them really helps to lift click-through rates.
I'm going to tell you, Danielle, I think we need to have a word with our creative team. We need a baby on the sort of email after hours landing page, sort of looking at that sort of download now button. So,
At the risk of being sassy here, Guy, I believe that past iterations of your headshot were essentially you as a baby compared to the bearded.
so
Sorry.
enough about babies for that. I can't respond to that. Let's get back to testing. So we have talked about pretty much each and every element of an email. We've talked about headlines and subheaders, USPs, images, testimonials, CTAs, subject lines, pre-headers. And of course, the challenge is making sure that they're all working harmoniously together to deliver a cohesive and compelling message. All of that sort of touches on testing as well. So at the moment, Johanna, what are you testing? And perhaps even more importantly, how do you measure success?
Well, currently, as we're always testing, we have a control and we have a set template where our emails start out with headline, subhead. We have this beautiful image that we've talked about. We go down to features and benefits that we're calling out if it wasn't called out in the headline for the unique value proposition. And then we come down and we include social proof. We include testimonials and we're testing, should it be with the same color? We call out the 5 stars and it's quotes around it. We've now tested into a headline of a very clear, concise one line of what the customer's saying in the testimonial. And then underneath it, we include the testimonial. So we're always making these little tweaks and testing to get to the best control email we can. That's what we're doing all the time. And once we have that control, we'll send it a few times and then back test some new element that we learn. And what we have the luxury to do is Bradford Exchange is our largest group of customers. We test there and then we can apply these learnings to our Bradford Exchange Canada, to Hamilton Collection, and then to Ashton Drake. And so that's been very nice where we have the biggest volume and the biggest testing.
I love I think it's often forgotten is social proof and just the impact that can have. Because if I'm looking to buy a new product, especially if I'm perhaps not a repeat shopper and this is the first time I'm buying, the first thing I'm looking up are reviews. So being able to navigate to that or see it within the email itself is so important. Now, another thing that's often neglected, or at least one that marketers would prefer to keep hidden away in many emails, is the unsubscribe button. But Johanna, you have a different perspective on this, on the unsubscribe. Tell us about that. Tell us about your position and why you do think, spoiler alert, it's so important.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, it's legally we have to include the unsubscribe button. So everyone has to do it. We've been doing it for years, thanks to the collaboration with great people like Danielle, when I first started with working with her 5 years ago, et cetera. And we believe our philosophy is if they don't want to receive our emails, we want them to unsubscribe. And that's pure and simply, that's what it is. We feel like if they enjoy our products and come back and buy, we'll then market back to them through an email. And again, sometimes they go on to stay in our whole funnel and we market to them and send engaging, great, beautiful curated content with these beautiful products. And if they're not interested, we're fine with them unsubscribing.
We're going to have to start wrapping up fairly soon. But before we do so, I wanted to ask a slightly broader question. I think, we know that there's always new trends and innovations happening in the world of email marketing. Joanna, what makes you excited? What are you seeing at the moment in terms of sort of trends and technology that you'd maybe like to explore, perhaps integrate into your own programs?
Absolutely. Well, we have to all mention this because it wouldn't be a timely podcast without it, but AI. I'm very excited to see what the future of AI holds into our email marketing. We see so many companies out there have all these solutions for AI, different tools and techniques to implement it. Salesforce has kicked off so many different aspects of AI. It's very fascinating. So I'm excited to incorporate our data with the AI intelligence within a confined space that's regulated and staying safely in our ecosystem here at Bradford Exchange. And I think it's going to be very interesting. We at Bradford Exchange years ago created EBOP. And I've talked to you about this acronym, Emailable Best Product Offer. So if you just bought our beautiful new Grogu doll, who's the Mandalorian's little Grogu, we have this beautiful, great doll. And say you just purchased that from us. We would then follow up with you based on EBOP and offer you Princess Leia, our next doll that's available, and or all of our other beautiful Star Wars collectible products. So we already have a built-in algorithm that's doing this that AI will eventually take on. And I think having this super EBOP methodology already and incorporating AI with our data, I feel like things can only be amazing and help to engage more customers, get more clicks and conversions, and generate more revenue with this.
The Mandalorian, one of your top-selling figures. What can I say? This is the way.
May the fourth be with you.
I was like, Johanna, when you said Andor, I was like, Andor. That's a Star Wars thing.
So, Danielle, we normally finish up with a few quick fires. So what have you got?
We're going to bookend with a couple quick fires. Johanna, I'm not saying this happened, but if you found yourself at a conference dressed up in a pink feather boa with other email nerds, and you were holding a microphone in your hands, what would your go-to karaoke song be?
Okay. Are you ready for it? We Are Family. That's what we would all be singing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Guys dancing, everyone.
I can do that one.
Everyone needs to go to YouTube for this one.
I think we better finish up before we do burst into song. Our audience will never forgive us. Johanna Morlock-Abassi, this has been such a fab conversation today. And thank you so much for being very generous with your great ideas and insights. I think our audience will have taken a wealth of good ideas out of today's conversation. It's a real pleasure to have you here with myself and Danielle on Email After Hours today. Join us again in 2 weeks' time. We will be speaking with Eric Stell from Map Digital. Going to be a really interesting conversation building on what Johanna just finished up there on the topic of artificial intelligence and email. It's going to be compelling listening. Don't miss it. See you again in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.
Be sure to tune in next time and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And don't forget to visit senderscore.com for loads more great resources to help you become a stronger sender.
To all you sleepless senders out there, thank you for joining us after hours and see you next time.